This is Chris's mom, and you are listening to the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
Showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people making Salt Lake City what it is today. It's time for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
Hey folks, welcome to episode 185 of the I Am Salt Lake podcast. My name is Chris Hollifield. I'm your host. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for listening, checking it out, consuming it, however you got here, however you found out about the podcast. Thank you so much for checking it out. This episode, I sit down with local KSL journalist, stand-up comedian Mike Anderson. We have a great conversation. I find out his story. We even talk about Periscope. You know, this guy came into the studios to record. He had Periscope going. I was intrigued. I've heard about Periscope on some other podcasts, and it was really cool. He kind of gave me some tutorials, kind of showed me how it worked. And I'm actually going to be recording more things here in the future on Periscope, more things with the podcast and things like that. So make sure you're following myself on Periscope. I Am Salt Lake. So yeah, like I said, Mike Anderson, he joined me at the American Musicians Radio Studio. We had an awesome conversation, found out his story, found out how he got to where he's at today in journalism and comedy. I'm going to be playing that here in just a second. Of course, let's get some business out of the way. If you have not heard, I Am Salt Lake Live is happening Friday, October the 16th at Club 50 West, right downtown at 50 West Broadway. I got a great evening planned. I got some awesome guests. I got Kerry Jackson from Radio from Hell Geek Show podcast. I have local stand-up comedian Levi Rounds, as well as Paul Dwayne from pauldwayne.net. So make sure you have that evening scheduled. You have some babysitters. You got some friends to come down, check it out. It's going to be a great night. You can find out more about that at iamsaltlake.com/live. That's going to send you to the Facebook event invite. So make sure you RSVP there. You can share that event with your family and friends. Share it on your Facebook wall. Feel free to tag me in it. That way I know you're sharing it and know you're out there and excited for the evening as well. It should be a really good time. iamsaltlake.com is the website for the podcast. You can go there, find out more about the show. You can find out more about me. You can dig through the back catalog. I have some really great conversations, some great podcast episodes with some awesome individuals here in Salt Lake City. So hopefully you guys are checking it all out. So like I mentioned, Mike Anderson, he came to the American Musicians Radio Studio. We sat down, we chatted, we had a great conversation. Here it is. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Thank you so much for checking it out. We're recording.
Oh my goodness, we're doing this now.
We're doing this now. I got Mike Anderson.
Yes.
How you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely, and thank you for coming on. So yeah, so pretty much we're going. We're chatting. I'll do a little intro and stuff here. You know, and I'll get the meat and potatoes right now.
Okay.
So thanks for sitting down and chatting, Mike Anderson. We're going to get into your story, but I want to talk about Periscope here for a minute. This is kind of the new revolution, right?
It's new and exciting.
The new app. People that don't, I'm going to start doing some I Am Salt Lake podcast interviews, Periscope. But talk about how long have you been doing Periscope?
Oh gosh, like a couple of weeks after it started? So it's been a few months now.
And what grabbed you into Periscope?
I don't know. I just thought, well, here's a new social media. I've never been sort of at the forefront of any social media, so let's get in there and try it out. And it looked exciting, and It's weird how it's picked up. It starts, when you first get on there, there's only like 5 people on, and you're like, what am I doing? There's like 5 people watching.
And so people, those are messages from people on the screen right now, and they're giving hearts.
Yeah, they chat at you.
Look at all those hearts. Okay, so how many times do you Periscope a day?
About 2 or 3. Sometimes 4 or more.
Like, what do you Periscope like in the shower?
No,
do you Periscope?
That's not, people do that though.
Really?
Yes. Shoulders up, but not me. No. So the thing that really got me going, crazy enough, I was doing the news thing on Periscope. I was doing a little bit of the comedy thing.
News thing, like with KSL.
Yeah, with KSL.
Okay, which we'll get into here in a minute. But so is KSL pushing this to use Periscope, or this is just kind of
KSL pushes social media in general.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So 2 to 3. Well, how can listeners of I Am Salt Lake find you on Periscope then?
Well, just by my username, at Mike Anderson.
Okay.
The O is a 0.
Okay, always a 0.
Yeah, the O is a 0.
Mike Anderson. Added the 0.
At Mike Anderson. but the O is a 0.
Oh, the O is a 0.
Like S0N instead of SON.
And I'll try to get those links at iamsaltlake.com so you guys can follow. I'm going to follow you, Mike.
Okay, I'll follow you back.
I don't think I've ever periscoped. I mean,
It's crazy. The thing that got me going,
Yeah.
I was mowing my lawn on Periscope.
Really?
And the lawnmower was loud, so I had to yell. That's what got people to start watching me. It's totally crazy.
Well, do a lot of people watch you?
Sometimes. So there's 63 on right now watching the podcast.
Really?
If there's something really good, we'll get 100 or more. If there's something really exciting, rare occasions, we'll get above 300.
Do you think it's our voyeuristic society? Everybody wants to see everybody else's life and not our own.
Well, it's not really voyeuristic because they're watching you, but they want to interact with you too. They want to ask questions and have you respond, and so it's kind of it's a community.
So it'd be kind of tough probably to do podcasts with Periscope. I know Joe Rogan does Periscope, right? Or I don't know
and
if
sometimes people will watch too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, we'll chat more about it. I just found it so awesome that you wanted to get right on Periscope and get it going. And I said, well, let's just throw that in the beginning of the podcast. Anyways, Mike Anderson, how you doing? Thanks for coming to the podcast.
Thank you.
You're with KSL.
Yes.
You're like a journalist. What do you do at KSL?
I'm a field reporter. I cover mostly the northern part of the state, so kind of Davis County on up north. But they'll send me anywhere, just depending on what's going on. So I'm just out there in the field, reporting on stories, meeting people.
And obviously, I want to get more into depth of that. But you're also a local comedian. You do some stand up time to time, or very lightly, or is it safe to call you a stand up?
Yeah, not as often now as I'd like. It's about once a month now.
Okay,
it used to be more frequent.
More than me.
More than.
By the way, there's some water over here too. Help yourself to a bottle of water. So you're a comedian as well as a news.
Yeah, I mean that's a hobby I picked up. I wanted to do it ever since I was a kid.
Okay. We'll get into that. Anything else do you do? Are you playing in bands?
I play guitar just at home in my basement.
Okay.
Sometimes on Periscope.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll start at the beginning. Where were you born? Where were you raised? Let's go there.
Yeah, I grew up in Southern California in Chino. It's in the Inland Valley. Loved it there. Didn't come to Utah until college. To be totally honest, I was one of those guys who wanted to go to BYU but didn't have good enough grades.
Okay.
And then once again, I was I'll go to the U. I'm going to go to the University of Utah. And then I had an advisor that told me that SUU is better for broadcasting, so I went down there. And so that's
what you went to school for broadcasting then.
Yes.
And that was that was your dreams. That was your I want to back up a little bit. So you're born in California. Big family, small family, only child? Only child.
Yes.
Did you get into trouble a lot? What kind of kid was Mike Anderson?
No, Mike Anderson was a very obedient child. I never did anything wrong, very well behaved.
Let's pretend your parents aren't going to listen to this, okay? So, honestly... they're not going to... So, but, none of us want our parents to know what kind of mischief we got into as a kid.
Yeah.
But... Nothing. You didn't shoplift. Nothing. You were a good kid.
No, the worst.
I'm not trying to make you confess here, but
no, I would. I wouldn't have a problem. But no, the worst thing I ever did as a kid is I had a friend Cito. He came over with some fireworks he got in Mexico one day. I thought, oh, cool. And he's like, your parents aren't home, right? And so we launched a few bottle rockets, and fire marshal showed up. So
1 second. Is that your car?
That's not my car.
Hold on.
Not mine, I promise.
I just want to make sure that's not my car.
So
somebody's car. Yeah, well, I'm going to edit
pieces together.
Yeah, I'm going to edit. I'm going to try to. Well, I might make it a little humorous, right? It's somebody's car going off in the parking lot. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't my car.
I'm parked by the other building, so it's not mine. I'm over there.
It doesn't matter. It's I'll be able to reduce the noise of it out and all of that. Anyways, where were we? So you're a good kid. You didn't really get into trouble.
Yeah.
You didn't. Should we wait till this car alarm goes off or what?
Maybe. It sounds kind of loud. There we go.
Okay. I just didn't want that to ruin the recording.
I know.
So, anyways, you're a pretty good kid. Are you getting the thumbs up over there on Periscope or what?
They're saying don't ignore me. Well, I'm on a podcast. I can't do both. I'm trying. Okay, sorry.
No, you've got me hooked on Periscope. I'm gonna go home tonight and I'm gonna download it and
and do it.
Yeah,
Just do it.
I'm going to chat more. Anyway, so you're a good kid. I mean, you're getting good grades in school, and you
not good grades.
Yeah, well, okay. But I mean, as a kid, though, is that what you wanted to get into, was broadcasting, or what? When did that spark come for you?
No, I'm not sure. Actually, as a kid, when I was about 7 years old, I decided I wanted to be a stand-up comedian.
Okay.
So that's what I wanted. That's actually what I wanted.
Why? Why? I mean, were you watching like old what were Richard Pryor or what?
Yeah, something came on. I don't know if it was the Tonight Show or it was late at night. And my dad had the TV on, and I saw a comedian, and I thought, man, that's cool.
And did he let you watch it with him?
For about 2 minutes
Until he started getting raunchy, right?
I don't probably.
Yeah.
He laughed and turned the channel. So, but so I saw that, and that's what I wanted to do. But as I got older, I realized it's kind of. And maybe I wasn't daring enough, but I realized it's kind of tough to just do that only. So my plan was to go to college and do it on the side.
Okay.
Then eventually I would take off and quit college, but that never happened.
To be a comedian.
Yeah.
Really? You had that much desire.
I did. But I got interested in the broadcasting on the side. News was never what I wanted to do because my dad is a retired newspaper editor.
For what newspaper? Chino there?
In the Inland Valley. It's the Inland Valley Daily Bulletin. So news was never what I wanted to do.
But you said because he did it, did you think he didn't enjoy it? Is that why you didn't want to do it? Or
I don't know. I guess it's just some kids, they don't want to do what their parents do. And I don't really have a
Fair
good reason
enough.
for that. But I did love writing stories. I loved to write short stories in school. And eventually in college, I realized, well, if you do news, you can tell a story every day.
Sure.
And so that's what kind of got me hooked.
Were you the kind of guy that was like always had like a tape recorder with you trying to get conversations with family and friends, or video cameras? Were you doing any of that as a teenager or young kid, or just,
As a kid, no. I mean, I remember.
Your own broadcasting, your own kind of journalist type.
Yeah, no, it was more whenever I got an assignment at school to write something, I just really got into it.
Okay.
I just really loved writing. And I was always trying to make people laugh. I wasn't always good at it until I got to be a little bit older, like a teenager. But yeah, so I was always trying to trying to be sort of a class clown, and usually didn't work out. I was kind of the wannabe class clown in school. But I just enjoyed telling stories, and that's about it.
So school in southern Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I couldn't. How was it going to school in southern Utah? I mean, I just couldn't imagine it being the most ideal situation for a college kid.
Yeah, I mean, it's a small town, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot to do. The college is fun. I mean, there's a nice little community there. That's
Well, you're not far from Vegas.
Yeah, you can go to Vegas if you want.
Did you go to
the
Vegas
weekend.
a lot?
No.
Really? Okay.
I think I went like once or twice. There's a nice little community there. That school is known for having a lot of like apartment parties. So I went there when I went to some parties when I first got there, but then I met my wife. And so then I was spending time with her all the time.
So you met your wife at school.
Yes.
Well, that's romantic.
I guess.
Yeah. So you're going to school for broadcasting.
Yeah.
What was your wife going to school for?
Also broadcasting.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, we had 3 of the same classes. We lived in the same apartment complex. So we were bound to meet.
And school was good. And I mean, what brought you to Salt Lake then? So you graduated, had a job instantly, just like every college kid's dream, right?
Right.
I graduate, I have a job.
Oh, I was living the dream.
Really?
So my first job was in Rapid City, South Dakota, as a
wow.
reporter, weekend anchor. So really small.
I just drove through Rapid City, South Dakota.
You didn't stop.
Well, I don't know. I went to Minnesota for a family reunion around July 4th.
Yeah.
And so we went through South Dakota and all of that. And beautiful state. So you went to South Dakota.
It's beautiful during the summer. But
How is the
during
winter? How is the winter?
The winter, it's all frozen. There's nothing to do. It's not fun.
Worse winters than Utah.
Oh yeah, longer. I mean, you got like 4 months of the year that are beautiful, and then the rest of the year it's like frozen. So, but yeah, so I started in little Rapid City, South Dakota, a little small market, and worked my way up. And my wife, we got married the last year of college, so she came with me, and actually reported. She reported at the same station for a little while. And I went to Florida, Orlando, and Jacksonville. And of course, she wanted to come home. So that's
where's her home? Here, Salt Lake,
North Ogden.
North Ogden. Okay.
So that's where we get back to Utah. Yeah.
So you went from South Dakota to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
How long were you in Florida for?
Oh, about 5 years, 5.5.
So enough time to wrestle an alligator.
Yeah.
Were there a lot of alligators there to bother you?
Well, that's a normal thing.
See, and I've never been to Florida.
See, out here we cover, we'll cover deers getting into neighborhoods or cougars or mountain
And we're talking about
lions.
real, like, animal cougars.
So out there, it's alligators.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty normal. It's not unusual to have the neighborhood alligator, but as long as it stays away from the people, then it's not a problem. Because a lot of neighborhoods have a big old canal around the back, and sometimes there'll be crocodiles.
So like their own moat around there.
Yeah.
I was like, the
Not
old
around there, but behind.
the castles, to keep the alligators out. So you eventually got, I mean, did you have a job lined up or what was the move like to come back to Utah? Or you just like, we got to get back to family.
Well, so we were in Florida for a while. We liked it there, and I'm trying to remember where we got it started. But no, I just sent I decided to make a change at that point to be I kind of got burned down on reporting.
Okay.
And so I decided to be a news photographer, and I sent a tape to, because I'd done some shooting too, so I sent a tape to Channel 2, and I got a job.
Channel 2 here in Utah.
Here in Utah.
Okay.
Got a job there almost immediately.
Just because they liked your shooting.
They liked the shooting, yeah.
This guy's awesome.
Liked that I had some reporting background too, so it's
Sure.
kind of nice as a photographer to have that. Did that, worked there for 6.5 years. Towards the end, started reporting again. Had a much better attitude about it. This is why I'm still doing it now. And eventually, our boss went to Channel 5, and several of us started coming over too. Yeah.
Okay. So your boss from Channel 2 went over to Channel 5 KSL.
Mm-hmm.
And so just to kind of build a little bit of a timeline, how is your Periscope crowd, by the way?
They're still 47 strong here.
Okay. So they're not getting completely bored.
The big regulars, yeah, they're still
not-
here.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm fascinated with Periscope. Anyway, so like about how long ago was that you came to Utah?
It's been, goodness sakes, it's been since 2005, so 10 years.
10 years.
Almost 10 years.
And you went to Channel 2. How long have you been at Channel 5 then?
4 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you love it? It's your dream job? You're like, you wake up every day excited?
It's been pretty good. I mean, it's a good place to work. They treat you well. I mean,
And it made you on the I Am Salt Lake podcast. I mean,
sure.
a job at
It got me on here.
Yeah.
So that's important.
Yeah.
But no, it is a good station. It's hard to find stations nowadays that have good benefits and they take care of people and they're not afraid to spend money on the product. Nowadays, it's a lot of just very sort of bare bones, what they can do with the least amount of money. And so it's hard to find a situation like Channel 5. Channel 2 used to be that way. When they were owned by CBS, they've been sold. So not quite the same. So, it's a great place to work. Would I want to go somewhere else? I don't know, but I think it would be hard to find a situation this good somewhere else.
You mentioned, because I've had some people on the podcast that do similar what you do, not from Channel 5. I think Ben Winslow. You know Ben Winslow?
Yeah, went to school with him at SUU.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
He was on, what number was he on? He was on 99, I think, episode 99.
I listened to that one, yeah.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you and him have a pretty similar type job, or just
Pretty
to kind
close.
of for me to understand here a little bit.
Yeah, so the
and
big-
that
the
was
big
so
difference-
long ago, I don't remember everything. But
Yeah, so the big difference with mine is I do a lot of my own shooting. I'm my own photographer quite a lot.
He is as well, though, isn't he?
He did for a while, but he doesn't anymore. Not so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
But do they like that, people that are versatile and that can do kind of their own things and
Yeah, I mean, that kind of became a trend when the economy went south.
Okay.
And some stations started picking it up. And now that it's gotten better, the trend now is to have a few at each station who do that. And so Channel 5, they like to have, there's about 3 or 4 of us that do it. And, yeah, I mean, it's not great for every situation because sometimes you have to have 2 people. It's really hard to cover certain stories with only one person. But when you can do the job of 2 people, I mean, they like it.
So what's a typical day like for Mike Anderson? Like you just go in every day for work. You don't know what's ahead of you, or do you usually know what's going to go on the next day? I mean, what's a typical day like?
Yeah, so I mean, the good thing about news, what I love is that every day's different. But at the same time, that can also be the most scary part because you don't know what's going to go on that day. So so my typical day is since I cover northern Utah, I start out from home. I get up in the morning and, try to find some story ideas and then call in and pitch them to the news meeting in the morning.
So you're searching. You're constantly searching for
Yeah,
those.
I've always got to find story ideas.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's sometimes scary too. Like if there's nothing going on, then that gets pretty scary because you still got to do something, right? So I'll pitch the ideas to the newsroom in the morning meeting, and maybe they'll like what I want to do, and maybe they won't. And quite often they'll call me up and say, "Do this instead." So yeah. So I know most days you don't know what you're going to do until about 10 o'clock in the morning.
And are you all over the state of Utah, or do you focus on an area?
Like I say, mostly northern Utah, but I get called down to Salt Lake quite a bit. But on rare occasions, I've been out to the Salt Flats, to southern Utah. So we can go everywhere.
Well, awesome. I mean, what's the wildest story you've covered? I mean, the most memorable or something, or.
Well, probably the most memorable is when I was in Orlando. It was my job to cover the space shuttle launches.
Wow.
So I was in the Cape Canaveral Bureau, and so I covered every space shuttle launch. Unfortunately, I was also there for Columbia when that happened. So that was a huge story. But it's just amazing to see the shuttle go up, especially the night launches. It lights up everything around you like it's day, while it's launching, and then it goes dark again. It's an amazing sight.
What about here in Utah? Any memorable stories in Utah?
The most memorable story here in Utah so far is, I don't know if it's the most memorable, but it's the only one that people still ask me about every once in a while, is there was a goat that chased a paper boy up a tree in Logan. And he was there. He was afraid of the goat. He was up there for about an hour, just kind of having a stare down with the goat. And
Mike, come on here.
no, that's a true story.
Yeah.
And his parents, they didn't know where he was, so they reported him missing. And so the police officer went looking for him. This is actually in Smithfield. I shouldn't say Logan. But eventually got report of a boy stuck in a tree. So they figured, that must be the kid. So eventually he came down when he saw the goat go after a couple of girls, some younger girls. So he went after the goat, and he got his courage at that point. So the kid had a great sense of humor. The goat was freaky. That story ended up on CNN because it's just so wacky.
And that you kind of started the story, then you kind of got it. More or less.
To give credit where credit's due, the newspaper in Cache County, Herald Journal, they did it first, and the next day I came along and found the goat, found the owner, ended up talking to more people.
Okay,
so made it a lot more interesting.
You mentioned that KSL pushes social media.
Yeah.
With the Periscope and the Twitter and all that. Why? I mean, what would you say that's pretty standard in journalism?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge nowadays because, I don't know if you noticed, but not as many people now are watching the news as they did back in the 80s, everyone watched the news.
Sure.
But now there's so many other places to go. You've got the internet, you've got Netflix, you've got cable. And so social media is just one way to sort of drive people to watch the news. If you can catch them with an interesting headline and say, watch at 5, then that's one more viewer.
But on social media, they figure if you're pumping out to Facebook and Twitter and what other social media sites do you use? You've got Periscope.
The main ones are Facebook and Twitter. Twitter is kind of breaking news. Facebook is more sort of intimate, get to know you, and sharing kind of interesting stories. So those are the main two. Everything else is kind of, it helps, but those two get the biggest focus.
What about Snapchat? Do you use Snapchat?
I've just recently downloaded it. I really honestly have no idea what to do with it.
Well, and I talk about it because I like to hype it up more than I do use it. I think it's a fun program, but I was just curious if you. Let's talk comedy. Let's get into your comedy. He's waving at people there on Periscope. Did you shut it out?
Yeah, say goodbye. I need to focus.
Okay, yeah. Well, focus here, Mike. So let's talk comedy. Let's talk about Salt Lake City, Utah comedy. The comedy scene. The first time that you got up and did like an open mic, I mean, talk about that story. So you're 7 years, I mean, I'm just piecing it all together. Where should we start with the comedy for you?
So like I said, it started, I wanted to do it when I was 7 years old. I didn't actually finally try it until I was about 16 years old. And it was actually at a talent show at church. And I just thought, I'm a funny guy. Let's do some jokes. I had some stuff written. It was pretty horrible looking back, but I went up, was horribly nervous. I was like just stuttering the whole time, could barely get a word out. But it was church, so there were friends there, and they were laughing, and so you get done 3 minutes later, I felt like I was amazing because I made people laugh on stage.
Sure.
But in retrospect, it was probably horrible. It was probably like the worst thing ever. And so I did that, and then a couple weeks later, a friend of mine was like, well, you should do comedy at this, it was a youth conference. They were going to have like 300 to 500 kids there, teenagers. That you should do it at that. Let's come have there's a little audition. Come to that, and if you get through, then we'll put you on the show. So I went to the audition thinking, I'm a big deal. I just made people at my church talent show laugh while I muttered through, 3 minutes of material, stuttering the whole time. And so I got up there, I had all this new material. They brought a whole bunch of senior citizens to watch, just because they had on some kind of lunch or something. And I just totally bombed. Nobody laughed at anything. It was horrible.
Did you feel like crying, or I
felt horrible. I was like, what am I doing?
What are you doing wrong?
This?
Yeah.
Why am I even doing this? And so my friend, I don't know.
What was some of your material? Do you remember any of it back then? Oh my gosh.
It was it's pretty embarrassing.
Hey, come on, I'm going to put you on.
So I remember one of the worst jokes was like, you remember like Siskel and Ebert, they always had the thumbs up for the movies,
Sure.
Thumbs up, thumbs down. I was like, yeah, what if someone like cut off their thumbs? That's it. That was my 16-year-old joke. That was it. And I was like, no, that's terrible. Why would you do that?
But that's still pretty. I mean, yeah. But you're 16. What do you expect?
16. Yeah. And then so my friend, I don't know how he did it. He went and talked to the board or whatever they had worked out, and he still got me on the show. He convinced them that I was funny anyway, and that was just a bad night. And so for weeks, I was just wanted to kill myself. I was like, what am I going to do? 500 of my peers, and I suck. How am I going to do this? And so I don't know. I mean, weeks of sort of clamping down and kind of refining the jokes. I got something together that worked, and people laughed.
And you're still in California at this time.
This is still in California. Yeah. So it worked out, and people laughed. I thought it was amazing again. It probably wasn't that good either, but it was better than the other.
What were some of the comedians like that you were watching at this time on TV? Or influences back then. I mean, are you like more of a clean comic type guy, or do you like some raunchy comics?
I respect some of the raunchy comics, but I'm definitely more a fan of the clean comedy.
Why? Why?
It's just what I'm used to. I mean, it's just how I kind of grew up, and it's just what I'm used to.
Do you think it's harder to be a clean comic?
Yeah.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
I think
because anybody can just be like, oh,
but having said that, it's hard to be a really good dirty comic too.
True.
Because it's easy to come up with, to go straight to.
Well, and I didn't mean it that way, where it was just like, oh, well, automatically, if you're a raunchy comic, you're gonna be touring the United States and you're gonna make your millions. But I think it's a lot easier to just. I don't even know what I'm looking for. I'm just.
It's easy to go to the gutter.
But you look at like a Jim Gaffigan or a comic like that, and to me, he's just brilliant.
Yeah, it just seems so smart to me. And
wow,
he's my favorite right now.
Really?
And as a kid, one of my favorites was Ray Romano before he had a show, and I thought he actually does some dirty stuff. But he was one of my favorites. Yeah.
Does Jim Gaffigan do any kind of adulty, like, late night on?
Not that I've seen.
HBO?
No. He's very, very, very clean. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, you come to Utah. You're still doing some stand up time to time. I mean, here's a question for you.
Uh-huh.
When did it hit you that this is something you want to keep pursuing, something you want to kind of continue with, or was it just kind of something always there in the back of your mind?
I actually gave it up for a while. I did it, like I said, I started in high school, went to college, did a little bit on the side. And then once I got into the news thing, I got really excited about that and said, oh, this is my thing now. This is what I'm going to do.
So you felt like you had to put all your energy into that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I did that for a long time. It wasn't until, honestly, I was working in Orlando, and there was this show, Last Comic Standing. Just
familiar with it.
Barely started, right? And I started seeing all these showcases of comedians. Like, man, I remember that used to be fun. I'm a big fan of stand-up comedy. And that's when I kind of got the bug again. I wanted to try it again. And so shortly after we moved to Jacksonville, and that's when I started going to open mic at the local club there. And since then, it's been like, ever since I picked it up again, it's been kind of I don't really know what I'm doing with it because it's on the side, but I feel like I don't want to give it up either.
It's a hobby.
Yeah.
Like I work with guys that like to go fishing on the weekend or something like that. That's your fishing.
It
you
is,
know what
yeah.
I mean? It's your release. What's been like the most rewarding thing for you with doing comedy in general, just overall?
I mean, just the most rewarding thing is the laughs. When you have a great show that just goes awesome. I mean, that's the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even matter where it is. I mean, it could be at a university in front of 500 people, or.
Have you performed in front of that many people? I mean, what's the most?
I had one show that was like that.
What's like the most amount of people you have?
Yeah. So it was a University of Minnesota, Asian Student Union. They saw my video on YouTube and asked me to come.
They flew you to Minnesota?
Flew me to Minnesota.
What?
Yeah, and it was actually, they had booked some other Asian comedian who's much more well-known than me, but he backed out at the last minute. So they said, this guy's funny on YouTube, let's bring him. So yeah, it was like between 300 and 500.
Now, did that request blow you away? Like they what emailed you, sent you an email telling you what they wanted, and you're just like, are you real here or what's going on?
Yeah, it kind of did, because I didn't really have a whole lot of, I didn't have any gigs like that before.
Sure. And you're living in Florida at this time.
I was living here in Utah.
Okay.
Actually. Yeah.
Okay.
So no, that was a great show. They paid well and brought me out there.
Flew you out there, put you up in a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow.
I haven't had a show like that since.
Yeah. But so speaking of YouTube, you have a YouTube channel then?
Yes. YouTube.com/Mike Anderson Comedy.
Okay. I haven't checked it out yet. I'll have to check it out, and I'll try to get the links on the show notes. What can people find on your YouTube?
So I've just got a few sets on there. One of the big focuses on my comedy is that I'm half Asian, but yet people always think I'm Mexican. So there's a lot of material about that, a lot of about being a family guy. People expect me to speak Spanish. So there's that. I once had a guy ask me, what kind of a beaner are you? And my best response was, well, I guess you could say I'm a soy beaner. So yeah, there's a lot of focuses on the race.
So how long, like, what's your longest, like, how long can you do a set for? 15, 30 minutes? I mean, how much material do you have?
Close to an hour.
Oh, so you do have close to an hour. Have you done like a headlining at all?
Yes.
Really? Here? Okay. Here in Utah?
Every once in a while at Wise Guys, not a lot.
I was going to say,
I'm not one of the regular headliners.
Okay. So it's a treat.
It's a treat for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still working on it.
Talk about, like, okay, so you've headlined at Wise Guys Inn. Any other places around Utah, or
around Utah?
Because I was looking on your Facebook, some Provo. You get down to Utah County, or no?
Yeah. So I mean that was Wise Guys. So they used to have a Wise Guys in Orem. I think that was.
Gosh, that was forever ago.
That may have been the first headline gig. I headlined there, in Ogden and Trolley Square. And aside from Wise Guys, no, I haven't really done a headline set anywhere else.
Okay. So how would you say the Utah comedy scene versus the comedy scenes in other states? What would you say the biggest difference there is?
I don't have a huge comparison because, I all I have to compare is Salt Lake City and Jacksonville, Florida. And both had the great thing about here is I feel like there's a really good community of comics, and there's so many of them. And you can really, no matter what kind of comedian you are, you can kind of get into a community of comedians that are like you, and that will help you get stronger and also be just good people to hang out with.
Yeah, do you feel like they'll give you advice and tell you how to better your set, and because do you think that they feel? Because what I get from the comedy scene, talking to comics and going to see stand up, is it's like, okay, if you succeed, I succeed. Do you feel that from the comics here?
There's definitely some of that. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a big thing, is that there is a big sort of support system here in Utah. I mean, there's a lot of the longer going comics are always trying to help out the open micers, and there's a little bit of sort of backbiting in comedy everywhere.
Sure.
But I think here it's less than other places.
Sure.
I think there's a really good community here. And you've got Wise Guys, you've got sort of the underground scene. So whatever type of comedy you want to do, there's an outlet for it.
What advice would you give somebody who wants, say myself, I came to you and said, Mike, I want to get into doing some stand-up, what advice would you give me?
The biggest thing is just to get out there and do it.
Yeah.
Because no one can tell you what your stage persona is. You have to discover it yourself. And it's a painful process because sometimes you suck, but when it's good, it's just so rewarding. And so you don't discover what works for you until you just get up there and try just many different things.
Do you feel like you've discovered yours?
Yeah, I think I have. I think it took about 7 years to get there.
Wow. Is that how long you've been doing it? 7 years?
I've been doing it about 12 years now.
Wow. Yeah. And you still don't know, you're just enjoying it. You don't know where you want to go with it.
Yeah, I mean...
would you like, let's say somebody came to you today and they were like, you can pursue this career in comedy and we can, pay you the same amount that you're making in journalism or news. Would you do that?
It all depends because it depends on what it is.
Sure.
Because I've done the road a little bit, not a lot, mind you, but for a family guy, the road is lonely.
Absolutely.
I mean, you get out there and you're in some crummy hotel that they put you up in, and it's just you and maybe a couple other comedians, and it kind of sucks for a family guy to be out there. So it'd have to be a pretty good deal. If someone came to me and said, "Hey, we'd like you to host a show on Comedy Central or any cable network," probably that I'd say, "Yeah, let's go."
Yeah.
But it'd have to be such a huge jump that's why I'm not doing it full time. I mean, the news is, I also love doing the news, and that's working out for me. Comedy is such a huge gamble.
Yeah.
And, you can criticize me for not being, not having a strong enough stomach to do it, but I got 4 kids and a wife, so this is how I'm working it out.
How old are your kids?
Our oldest is 12. We have 3 daughters that are 12, 9, and 1.
Wow.
And then 1 boy who's 5.
It sounds like they keep your hand, or you're pretty busy.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too, is if I'm away, even if it's like a weekend comedy trip, my wife will call me, and I hope she doesn't listen to this, because she'll call me and be like, "The kids are driving me crazy. I miss you. The house is a mess. What are you doing right now?" So
is she pretty supportive though of your stuff?
Yeah, she's pretty supportive. But there was one time when I used to talk about, well, what if I did this? What if I went on the road and I was full time? She wasn't supportive of that. I mean, to be totally honest, no, she wasn't a fan of that.
Well, what woman would be?
Yeah.
What wife would be?
Yeah.
I don't think there's very many wives that are like, "Okay, I married you to be able to only see you one weekend a year," or it's like, "No, I married you because I want to spend time with you."
Uh-huh.
But no, I get it, man. What are some of your other hobbies and interests? You got the news, you got comedy. I mean, what else?
Comedy. I'm a huge gamer.
Like what kind of games?
Gosh, PlayStation 4.
Okay.
How nerdy do you want this to get?
I'm not very nerdy. I'm not very nerdy. I'm not a gamer.
All right. Let's just say I play a lot of video games. Let's leave it at that. I enjoy Destiny quite a bit. That's my big one. But then I also enjoy a lot of everything else too. Whatever I can play on the.
What about movies? What's the last movie you saw in the theater?
In the theater was The Avengers 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I like movies. I don't get a lot of time to watch them.
Well, you're busy doing comic and periscoping. I mean, you don't have a whole lot of time to
periscoping. Yes.
What's the most memorable concert or sporting event you've ever been to?
The most memorable would have to be U2 when they came to Rice Eccles a few years back.
How was that?
That was amazing.
Are you a pretty big U2 fan?
Yeah, I mean, they're probably my favorite band of all time. Lately, I've kind of lost interest. I like to kind of keep up with whatever's kind of hip and new and, in the alternative world. And so I'm not as interested as I used to be, but I still love their music. And, I mean, that was a great show. My wife surprised me. Her sister had actually bought tickets, but she was stuck in New York. So my wife kind of bought them and surprised me and said, "Hey, we're going for your birthday." So it was a great show.
So you went did they play on your birthday then?
It was really it was like within a couple days.
Oh, it was fair enough, close enough.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, okay, you stay kind of what's hip and new in the music world and what all the cool kids are listening to. That's kind of been my biggest struggle with music.
Mm-hmm.
Is how do you how do you keep up with it?
That's a good question.
I mean, is it just kind of whatever you hear people talk about? Do you read Rolling Stone? I mean,
I just love listening to music. So for me, I mean, I have a Spotify subscription.
Sure.
I'll get on Pandora and see what they choose for me. But I'm really fickle, so I'm constantly skipping around. That's why I like Spotify. You can get into like, they'll have a playlist they recommend for you, and then I'll kind of skim through and see if I like the songs. So that's mostly how I discover music. I don't listen to the radio a whole lot anymore. And that's another one of my hobbies. I like to play the guitar and sing, but that's just something I do in my basement. It's not a huge, like, I don't do a band or anything. But,
Sure.
But
Self-taught with the guitar?
I took bass lessons when I was a kid and played in the school jazz band. And then later on taught myself the guitar.
But it's something you really genuinely enjoy.
Yeah, it's another fun hobby.
Yeah, yeah. If you could witness any event, past or present, what event would Mike Anderson?
Past or present? Oh, boy.
I mean, we can go way back here, like, you know.
I'm kind of a science nerd, so I would love to see what the world looked like during the Ice Age.
Okay.
Just to kind of get the whole, it's a different planet feel. Is that too weird of an answer?
No, I like it.
That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah.
Or when the dinosaurs, I'd like to see that. That's too nerdy of an answer.
No.
I can tell by the way you're looking.
No.
That's terrible.
Well, no, I just never.
I'm kidding.
I've always had people, I want to party with Jesus or something like that. You know? It's like, well, okay,
I can't think of any people I would. Yeah. I don't get too celebrity crazy, so
I got you.
Can't think of any.
Let's say you woke up tomorrow, you got a phone call,
Yeah.
and they said, Mike, you got 1 month to live. How would you spend that last month?
I would, not to sound cheesy, but
No, I want cheesy out here, man. Lay it on the table.
But I mean, look, I would spend it with my family. I'd spend a lot of it with my wife.
Would you travel?
Would I travel?
Or would you just hang out in Davis County?
I think I'd like to travel with them. Sure. I'd like to go to Hawaii. Take my wife to Paris finally. She's been bugging me since before we got married. So, yeah.
What do you miss most about being a kid?
Boy, not having responsibility. I mean, I look at my kids now and they're busy like thinking, okay, tomorrow I'm going to get up. I'm going to play some Harry Potter on the Xbox. And then I'm going to go to Oliver's house. And then I'm going to go on the slip and slide. And then I'm like, come on, when is my day ever like that? That's what I miss.
That's like a dream day to me. It's just like, I just want to sit in my underwear, eat cereal, and watch Netflix.
I'm just being totally irresponsible all day and hang out with my friends.
Could you imagine that?
I can't imagine.
When's the last time? How many years has it been probably since you've had a day like that?
Since I've had a day like that? Boy, I probably had a couple in college. There's probably the time I pulled the all-nighter with my friends in the dorms doing crazy stuff. I don't know. Playing, what's that game? With the world domination board game?
I told you, I'm not a nerdy guy.
Why is that? Oh, that's such a nerdy thing to bring up.
Let's say, okay, if you could be an extra in any TV show, what TV show would you want to be an extra in?
TV show, an extra.
You're going to hang out and then with the whoever's in the TV show, you're just an extra.
That's a hard one. Oh my goodness, bringing on the hard questions. What about like, it'd have to be something like Secret Agency or superhero-y. Like, what about like Homeland?
Okay.
Could I be like a guy who's freaking out at some explosion on Homeland? Can I be that guy?
You sure?
I want to be that guy.
Okay. Okay, well, this just kind of leads into this question. What's the most dangerous thing you have ever done?
The most dangerous thing I've ever done. I'm still kind of that good kid, so I don't really do anything dangerous.
Let your guard down. Nobody's going to listen to this podcast.
What did I do that was dangerous? Surely I've done something for a news story that was borderline dangerous. I was once, I was once offered to go skydiving, but I said no. So what have I done dangerous? I went flyboarding. That's moderately dangerous. I could have broken something.
There you go.
Sure, flyboarding.
I'm not familiar with flyboarding.
When you stand on it, shoots out water under your feet, and you're flying above the lake. Is that dangerous enough?
It could be.
Probably not. I've flown in Chopper 5. Helicopters crash, don't they? That's pretty dangerous.
So Chopper, like above Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
How is that? How is that view? How can I get up there?
How can you get up there?
I want to get up there.
I don't know how to get you on Chopper 5.
I want to podcast out of a helicopter.
I don't know how to get you in Chopper 5. Look, I tell you what. If you can reach the reading goal for elementary school, you can get in Chopper 5. Because there's a Utah Reads thing. If you can read...
Oh, you promised this to kids.
If you can read like 50 books in a certain amount of time.
Over the summer.
And get Deanie Wimmer's attention, you can be in Chopper 5.
But this is what you do for the kids, is you take them up in Chopper 5.
They do it sometimes, yeah. Every once.
No, I'm
kind of joking here. I don't know what the exact goal
I just want to go over Chopper 5, over Salt Lake, take some pictures, post them on Instagram. That's all I want.
Yeah, I don't know how to get you in there. I don't. It's cool. It's cool to be in there. Honestly, the vibration on the helicopter, it puts me to sleep.
Have you fallen asleep in a helicopter?
I've fallen asleep in Chopper 5 several times, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How do they wake you up?
It's the mic we're here, because you got the headphones on, so you can hear the pilot.
What possession means the most to you?
What? Okay, so possession.
Do you have a possession?
Well, I really like my guitar, but that can be replaced. It's not like an amazing guitar. See, that's a tough question for me because I don't really take a whole lot of stock in possessions. I mean, I really enjoy my PlayStation. That's a lot of fun. But I don't have anything that's like really sentimental to me. Does that make sense?
Like if your house was burning.
Okay, my house. That's my thing. Yep. There we go.
Well, no.
Something inside it.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what I was trying to help you
Can
there.
I just say the whole house?
Well, the whole house. Your house is your possession. I mean, that's.
What would I run to get first? I'd probably grab the PlayStation 4.
Okay.
Because trying to get my wife to let me buy another one.
And your wife's screaming, "Grab the photo album! Grab the photo album!"
No, I'm going to get the PlayStation 4 because then I'll have to talk you into letting me get a new one.
Was that pretty hard to get her to talk to get the first?
It was kind of hard, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd grab the projector from the theater room, and
This is a pretty common question that I ask people that come on the show.
Okay.
I'm sure you've listened to a few episodes of the podcast. You mentioned listening to Ben Winslow. Mm-hmm. Let's say somebody was visiting Salt Lake City or surrounding areas of Salt Lake. What is something you say, hey, you got to check this out? Like recently, I had some friends come in from New Zealand here to Salt Lake.
Wow.
They actually listen to the podcast, and they're like, "Oh, show us around Salt Lake City." So I had to make a little list of things I wanted to take them and show them.
Yeah.
What are a few things that would be on Mike Anderson's list?
Oh boy, that is a tough one. The thing that really strikes me about Utah is the nature. I mean, there's a lot of great hikes to go on. So especially if it's someone who's not used to having the mountains, I mean, take them on a good hike.
Any favorite hikes? Any favorite?
I'm not extremely well versed.
See, and I'm not either. Like the only thing I can think of is like Donut Falls, or
I really like. This is my best sense. I really like Tony Grove. I think it's really pretty up there. We just went on the Mueller Park Trail. That was really nice a couple weekends ago. Yeah. I think that's the biggest, to me, that's the biggest draw about Utah is, unless you're into skiing, is that or the nature.
Do you ski or snowboard?
No.
Have you ever?
I've gone skiing once.
Okay. More than me. I've snowboarded probably as many times as I have fingers on the hand.
Okay.
Never skiing.
Never skiing.
I always told myself, you know what, Chris, you live in Utah, you should go skiing.
I know, it's a shame, right?
Yeah. What's held you back from skiing?
It's hard. I mean,
money and time is
money.
Yeah.
I mean, I got 4 kids, so I'm sure Kelly, my wife, would love to go skiing, but she's done it more than me. But then we got to get someone to watch the kids. So the good thing is my 12-year-old is getting old enough where she's actually going skiing and she likes it. So one of these times I'm going to go with her.
So you just kind of send her out there.
With her friends. She goes with friends. She's gone with my wife a couple times.
So your wife's a skier.
She's gone with, not avid. I mean, she's done it.
Sure.
She can do it. And with her aunt, she goes with her.
What about any other places and things in Salt Lake? Even something as simple as like the downtown library to me is just a beautiful spot.
A beautiful
you
building.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a lavish suggestion.
I mean, the temple's nice if they're
into
that.
Sure.
Go to Temple Square.
Yeah.
That's kind of an obvious one. Gosh, I don't know. I mean, beyond that.
What about local eating spots? I'm sure you grab a bite to eat from time to time. And
yeah, you know what? I love Red Iguana.
Oh my God! I just had first time ever. Well, I can't say ever. So I went to breakfast there the other day. I don't know if you ever done like brunch or breakfast. It's pretty good.
I've never done breakfast there, no.
Yeah.
We've only done lunch there because dinner is, it's such a long wait for dinner.
It is. Do you have like a favorite Red Iguana one, too? I mean, to me, it's the same.
I've only been to one.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. But it's delicious food.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh, my God. I've been on a big Red Iguana.
That's the only place that, having grown up in California, that's the only place where I could say, yeah, this is better than some of the places I'd find out there.
It's pretty. Did you know they're in the City Creek food court, too?
Yeah.
I did not know that either. I was there the other day, a few weeks ago, and I was like, oh, man, I'm stuck here to find something to eat. It's going to be just garbage. I was like, and then it was just like this raise.
Is there a big line?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't too bad. Okay. It wasn't too bad, but it was the food court style. But
right.
I was pretty impressed. Red Iguana at City Creek. I was like, all right, this is all right. Yeah. So it was. It's pretty good. Any other food places? What about any of the taco carts? You Mexican, Have you tried any of the taco carts?
Yeah, I mean, just across from KSL, the backside of KSL is a Taco Hidalgo. That one's really good.
I'm trying to think because the KSL. So you're down there by Energy Solutions, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's kind of across from there too.
I live right down there by there.
Oh, okay.
So that's where I was kind of curious where.
It's right. So there's the street. What is that? First South. It goes right in between Energy Solutions and KSL. Right across the street is Taco Hidalgo. To me, that's the best taco stand I've been to so far.
I'll have to check it out.
Really good, yeah. Some of the ones in Ogden are good.
See, and I need to venture up to Ogden. I don't get up there too much.
Remember, it's either Tuesday or Wednesday. All of them do 2 for $1 so you get like 50 cents a taco. So you sit there with like 21 tacos, and you're good to go.
I'll have to check that out. But I've enjoyed chatting with you. I mean, anything that you want to promote coming up, or anything that you want to, we'll obviously go through your, how to get you online, Facebook, Twitter, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you can find me on Twitter as Mike Anderson. I replaced the O with a 0.
Okay.
So Mike Anderson 0. Mike Anderson with a 0. On Twitter and on Periscope and on Instagram, all the same username. Facebook.com/Mike Anderson Comedy. I don't really have a lot to promote. I don't have any, big shows coming up.
That's fine. I just didn't know if there was anything else before we wrap this episode up that you want to, make a shout out to anybody or
watch KSL 5 News.
There you go. Can anybody ever see you on KSL News?
Yeah, I'm typically on at 5 and 6 Monday through Friday.
Okay.
Out there in the field.
So watch that, and you might see Mike Anderson. Any words of wisdom or profound quotes or anything like that Mike wants to leave with the listeners?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, my big thing about life, and my mom always told me this growing up is, it ties back to a Chinese proverb. My mom was from Taiwan, but she always told me, find something that you love and never work a day in your life, and I feel like I've done that with news and comedies. That's the thing I do on the side. So, yeah, I mean, I just think get out there, figure out what you love to do, and do that for a living.
I love it. We'll end it there, Mike. Thank you so much. Hopefully we'll chat again soon. All right. Thanks a lot, Mike Anderson, for coming on this episode of the podcast. You can find all the show notes, iamsaltlake.com/185. I'm going to put all the links to connect with him. Hopefully I get them all there online. Reach out to Mike. Let him know you heard him on the I Am Salt Lake podcast. While you're at it, let me know what you thought of this episode or any other episode of I Am Salt Lake. Hey, there are some ways you can help support the podcast. Any help is very much appreciated. So thank you to those of you that continue to keep the podcast afloat. First of all, you can donate to the podcast. You can become a monthly subscriber, or you can make a one-time donation. Either way, many thanks. The show will, of course, continue to be free. But monthly subscribers, I'm going to have some fun packages, some fun rewards for the monthly subscribers. Stay tuned for that. So you can find that by hitting the donate button at iamsaltlake.com. You can also help support the podcast by sharing this episode or any of your other favorite episodes with your family and friends. You can make sure to leave a review in iTunes, Stitcher Radio. That will help boost the ratings, gets the podcast exposed to more people, and love to know what you guys think of the show that way as well. IamSaltLake@gmail.com is my email address. It will send an email right to me. Let me know what you thought of this episode. Let me know if you have any people you would like to hear me interview, or if you would like to come on a future episode. Make sure to drop me an email. I have some awesome shows lined up, and I'd love to hopefully bring you on a future episode. That's going to do it for this episode, folks. Thank you so much for listening. Many thanks to Mike Anderson. Many thanks to John Farmer at American Musicians Radio for his continual support. Many thanks for each and every one of you for your continual support. I'll see you guys again next week, and stay safe out there, Salt Lake City.